The observation deck of the Viridian Crest hummed with the usual symphony of interstellar travel. The distant thrum of quantum engines, the whisper of recycled air, and the occasional chirp of navigation systems recalibrating. But today, a different sound echoed through the corridors, the frustrated growls of two very determined Felixari cubs. Rexil and Nexa crouched low in the training alcove, their sleek fur rippling with tension. Their species, the Felixari, were renowned across 3 sectors as apex predators, 7-foot-tall felines, whose ancestors had dominated their homeworld's food chain for millennia. Even as cubs, barely reaching 4 feet, they carried that legacy in their blood. "Focus, Nexa," Rexil hissed, his golden eyes narrowing to vertical slits. His tail, striped in bands of silver and black, lashed behind him with predatory precision. Master Corveth said, "We must perfect the predator stare before we're allowed on the hunting simulation." Nexa adjusted her haunches, her copper-colored fur bristling with determination. "Watch." She locked her emerald gaze on the training dummy, a crude amalgamation of sensors and synthetic flesh designed to register intimidation levels. Her pupils contracted to pinpoints, her ears flattened against her skull, and a low rumble built in her chest. The dummy's sensors flickered. Intimidation level, 34%. "Pathetic," Rexil muttered, though not unkindly. "My turn." He assumed the position, spine arched, shoulders rolled forward, every muscle coiled like a spring. His eyes went dead, cold, the ancestral stare that had frozen prey in their tracks for generations. The dummy's sensors jumped to 47%. "Better," Nexa admitted, "but still not hunter grade. We need 75% minimum. Then we practice until our eyes burn," Rexil declared, settling back into position. What neither cub noticed was the human standing in the doorway. Mara Ellison had been aboard the Viridian Crest for 3 months now, serving as the ship's xenobiological consultant. Humans were still something of a curiosity in this sector. Their species had only achieved FTL travel 20 years ago, making them the galactic equivalent of enthusiastic toddlers stumbling into a cocktail party. Most species found them fascinating, if somewhat unpredictable. She'd been on her way to the hydroponics bay when she heard the growling. Her curiosity, that infamous human trait that had led to both remarkable discoveries and spectacular disasters, pulled her toward the sound. And there they were. 2 adorable Felixari cubs, no bigger than earth leopards, trying their absolute hardest to look terrifying. Mara's heart melted instantly. She'd read the Felixari cultural files, of course. Proud warrior species, strict honor codes, deep respect for predatory prowess. The cubs were probably practicing some important coming-of-age ritual. She should absolutely not interrupt. But they were just so cute. Rexil had reset his position, his little face scrunched in fierce concentration. His nose twitched as he tried to maintain the stare, but Mara could see his whiskers quivering with effort. Nexa waited beside him, her tail swishing in anticipation. 72%, Nexa read from the sensor display. "You're so close." "One more time," Rexil panted, clearly exhausted. That's when Mara made her move. "Oh my goodness," she cooed, stepping into the alcove with that particular brand of human recklessness that made other species nervous. "Are you two practicing your fierce faces?" Both cubs whirled around, startled. Their carefully constructed predatory auras evaporated in an instant. "Human Mara." Nexa's ears perked up, her intimidation forgotten. "We didn't hear you approach." "That's because humans are surprisingly stealthy when they want to be," Mara said with a grin, crouching down to their level. "Now, let me see these scary faces you've been working on." 9. Rexil puffed out his chest, trying to recover his dignity. "We are practicing the predator stare, an ancient technique passed down through generations of Felixari hunters. It is a sacred art, not a scary face." "My apologies," Mara said, her tone respectful but her eyes twinkling. "Show me this predator stare. Then, I'm very interested in cross-species intimidation tactics." The cubs exchanged glances, It was unorthodox to demonstrate their techniques to an outsider. But humans had proven themselves valuable allies. And besides, there was something about Mara's genuine interest that made them want to impress her. Very well, Rexel said formally. He turned to face her fully, planted his paws, and summoned every ounce of predatory instinct his young body possessed. His eyes went cold and hard, his lips curled back just enough to show the tips of his fangs, and that ancient, primal stare locked onto Mara's face. For exactly 3 seconds, it was genuinely impressive. Then Mara's face split into the most delighted smile either cub had ever seen. "Oh, you precious little hunter," she exclaimed. And before Rexel could react, she'd closed the distance and planted a gentle kiss right on his fuzzy black nose. Rexel's eyes went wide, his carefully maintained stare shattered like glass. His ears shot straight up in confusion, and a small, involuntary "me-RP" escaped his throat. "Your turn," Mara said brightly, turning to Nexa. Nexa, who had been watching this interaction with growing horror and fascination, tried to muster her own predator stare. But she was already fighting a losing battle. Her whiskers were twitching with what might have been amusement, and her tail had started its telltale happy swish. Still, she gave it her best effort. Eyes narrow, ears flat. The full, predatory package. Mara leaned in, examined the stare with exaggerated seriousness, and then, boop, kissed Nexa's pink nose too. "Perfect form," Mara declared. "Absolutely terrifying. I'm quaking in my boots." Nexa's composure crumbled. A surprised purr rumbled from her chest, completely unbidden. Beside her, Rexel was sitting in a daze, one paw touching his nose as if trying to understand what had just happened. But we are apex predators," Rexel managed weakly. "Our stare is supposed to freeze prey with fear." "Oh, it definitely did something to me," Mara assured him, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Both cubs instinctively moved closer. "It made me want to kiss your adorable little noses. Is that not the traditional response?" "Infactive use expart." "No," both cubs said in unison. "Huh," Mara said thoughtfully. "Human responses to cute stimuli must be different. When we see something small and fuzzy trying very hard to be fierce, our brains release oxytocin, which makes us want to cuddle and protect the thing. It's involuntary, really." "That seems like a terrible evolutionary strategy," Nexa pointed out, though she'd somehow ended up leaning against Mara's side. "You'd think so," Mara agreed, absently scratching behind Nexa's ears. The cub's purr intensified despite herself. "But it worked out pretty well for us. We domesticated wolves by being aggressively friendly to their babies. Now we have dogs. We've done it with cats, horses, even some reptiles and birds. If something is small and tries to look tough, humans just think it's adorable and want to befriend it." Rexel processed this information, his tactical mind working through the implications. "So, when we achieve full size and stand 7 feet tall with claws that can rend steel, will you still find us adorable?" Mara considered this seriously. "Probably, yes. Humans have a complicated relationship with things that could kill us. We tend to want to pet them. If your species is insane," Nexa murmured. But she was now fully sprawled against Mara's leg, her intimidation practice completely forgotten. "We prefer courageously optimistic," Mara corrected. "Now, do you want me to help you practice your predator stare? Or would you rather hear about the time humans befriended apex predators on Earth called bears?" "Bears?" Rexel's ears perked up with interest, his dignity momentarily forgotten. "Oh, yes. 3-meter-tall omnivores with enough strength to decapitate a moose. And humans kept trying to take selfies with them." As Mara launched into stories of human-animal interactions that made both cubs' fur stand on end with horror and fascination, the training dummy sat forgotten in the corner, its sensors still displaying Rexel's last attempt, 72% intimidation. Later that evening, when Master Corveth found his two students curled up in the humans' quarters, listening with rapt attention to stories about something called Australia, where apparently everything was deadly and humans just lived there anyway, he could only shake his massive head. "The humans are corrupting our youth," he rumbled to the ship's captain, Captain Thessa, a grizzled Felixari veteran with more scars than fur in some places, simply chuffed with amusement. "Or perhaps the humans are teaching them something we forgot, that strength doesn't always mean intimidation, and friendship can be deadlier than any predator stare." "That makes no sense." "Neither do humans," Thessa agreed. "But 3 months ago, that human walked into a bar fight between a Krogesh enforcer and a Zenthi merchant. She kissed the Krogesh on his snout, told him he was such a big scary boy, and the fight just stopped. The Krogesh was so confused he bought her a drink instead." Corveth's tail swished thoughtfully. "Psychological warfare. Or maybe humans are just like that," Thessa said. "They see something trying to be fierce, and their response is affection. It's terrifying when you think about it. How do you fight an enemy whose instinct is to befriend you?" In Mara's quarters, Rexel and Nexa had moved on from listening to actively trying to teach Mara their predator stare. She was a terrible student. Every attempt ended with her giggling and trying to kiss their noses again, but somehow, neither cub minded anymore. "I think," Nexa said thoughtfully as Mara finally succeeded in holding the stare for 5 whole seconds before dissolving into laughter, "that humans might be the most dangerous species in the galaxy." "Because they're unpredictable?" Rexel asked. "No," Nexa replied, watching as Mara scooped them both up for what she called a victory cuddle. "Because they make you forget you were supposed to be intimidating in the first place." And as Mara pressed gentle kisses to both their noses once more, completely ruining what had been 2 perfectly good predator stares, neither cub could bring them